Welcome back, guys, for another episode. Doing something slightly different today. We are expressing some of our anger and going to smash this bottle. No, but seriously, this time of year when it's a festive season and gifts are given and things like that, sometimes it's really nice to memorialise your piece. And instead of sort of just, drinking away a nice bottle, you can actually basically make it into an art piece. So that's what we're going to do today. I've brought in a bottle. We will be smashing it up and with all of our safety equipment, and we'll actually be placing that into a frame. So it will become an art piece on the wall. So let's get started and we'll tell you what we need. Okay guys, so a few of the things that we'll need today is our frame, because this is actually what I plan to put our broken pieces of bottle on, and it will be secured with our Resi Clear on this layer. Now this backing layer, I have given one coat with Resi Clear with our Black Abyss tint, and if you want to have a look at how we've done that, please look at our Bare Brick artwork video, because there is an exact demonstration of how we've done that on that particular video. So to start with, we've got our frame ready, we've got a single layer of our Resi Clear on it. We have our bottle that we want to break. Now to keep everything safe, we also have some gloves to protect my hands. I have a nice thick piece of towel that I'm going to be breaking the glass inside of to capture any broken bits of glass. We have our hammer, which is going to help break the glass. Safety glasses, which are really important. And like I said earlier, we are using our Resi Clear. So I have mixed up a batch that we will be using to secure our broken bits of our wine bottle onto our art piece. So let's get started. So first stages are obviously breaking our bottle. Now with this particular bottle, because the film that's on the outside of it, obviously this isn't going to break the same way as the glass will. So I also have a pair of scissors so I can maybe cut this film, and so we can try keep our logo here, our label, and keep this ribboning as well, which are the main features of the bottle. So we want to try and include those so it's definitely recognisable. So I'm going to set it up with our towel and pop it inside. I want to wrap it up because I want to be able to capture any bits of broken glass. I want to put my safety gear on. I've also just put my bottle onto a nice solid bit of form ply, so I have a solid hard surface to break against. That will just help with the breaking process. Now I just want to make sure, we might break from the back in case we damage the front of the label. So I'll just pop that back in with the back of the label towards us, which is where we will be hitting it with a hammer. I'm not in the habit of doing this regularly. With the breaks, they can come out in a different array of different manners, so we may get bigger chunks that we may need to break down further, but the aim is to break this first and then see what we come out with. So here we go.
You just love right.
What the fuck? How do they do it on the side of a boat? I had some breakage. Got a little bit of breakage there. That's it. Okay, so we've got some breakage. We'll open it up and we'll see what we've got, and then we'll see what we need to work with. Awesome. So we've got the top, which is great because we'll use that. With this particular artwork, we don't need to use every single bit of glass. So we want sort of the main bits of it. And as I thought, this foil has relatively stayed in one piece. So I will sort of cut through some of this. Just cut the back label off to see what we've got. So I don't really want the big chunky back bit of the bottle. Potentially the portion related to the front, which is more this side of it. So I may even try break a little bit off this back bit here. And then take pieces that aren't too curved, that we can sort of piece out around it. So some of these pieces look like they're quite good. So we'll keep those aside. I don't want anything that's too fine or very fine shards. And then anything that's too curved as well, because we want it where we do have some contact points to be able to put on the back of the frame so the epoxy can adhere to those. There's a couple of pieces here that we could potentially work with as well. But I do want to keep our film here. So I'm just going to cut up the back and cut around our ribbon at the front. And we obviously want to keep our brand, but I will just basically cut the back side of it off. So I want to see where it would usually wrap around the bottle, and then I'm going to cut the back side of it off so that way we can have it nice and flat or laying over a piece of glass once we see what our composition will be. So we've got that section there. So we're keeping that as well. We want to keep our original logo and a little bit of the silver around the bottom as it fades up to the white as well. Now I'm going to cut it pretty square at the moment, but once we see again what our composition is with our glass, I might recut it to sort of shape where the glass is broken. So just to get rid of the excess at the moment, we'll just cut a little bit wider. So we've got our main part of our logo there. We want to keep this back bit and potentially break a little bit off here. So we'll keep that aside for the next break. Potentially keep a couple of these bigger pieces as well. Maybe break that one down a tiny bit more. A couple of little smaller ones in around. So I'm going to dispose of most of this. There's no point me trying to reuse this cloth because of all the fine shards that are broken in here. And then I will rework a couple of pieces and see if we can get a couple more smaller breaks out of them. And then we're almost ready to go. So we've got a new rag. And like I said, I want to try and get a little bit off the back of this one. So we'll see how we go, because this is a very thick piece of glass here. So I'm not sure how much success we're going to have, but I might angle it, cover it, so we don't have anything sort of bouncing back up on us, and aim to hit in this section here to try break a little bit of that off. So we'll see how we go. Enough potentially to pop that in the resin now that it's sort of broken off, so it's just changed the shape of it a little bit. So I think we might be able to use that. See if I can get a little bit more off of the base here. Not a great deal more. I think that's all we're going to get with how thick this glass is at the moment, unless I was to take it outside and really give it a good whack. But we're going to stay indoors at the moment. Now just break this one down just the tiniest bit more. I'd like, you know, maybe this into 2 or 3 pieces. So we'll just give that an attempt without being too rough on it. Also broke it down. We'll also do that with this piece, maybe in half. Perfect. And we might just get some of the shape out of this one by potentially breaking that one in half too. I just want to allow for as much surface area as I can. When we've got like a fine tip here, it may not have as much contact to the epoxy that we'll be putting on the backing of the frame. Perfect. Next step is to get a little bit of a composition up and see what we've got going on and how it may potentially fit in the frame. So if I'm going to be sitting this one in here, we have the main part of the bottle here. Our logo is going to go on here. It may mean we sort of cut a little bit through the logo and put the bottom part of it on here. So we'll sort of play with that in a second. We've got to make sure that we fit it into our framed area as well. So composition is really key to putting this in an artwork. You don't just want it look like a complete lot of smashed glass. You want to make sure you can sort of see the components clearly and that you've got nice balance to it. So I think we've achieved our sort of layout here, and my aim is to have that inside our mounted bit on our frame. So I think we've got enough space. I think we've got good composition. So now it's a matter of us popping some resin on this and getting it onto the backing board. Because I want to use the matte on this frame, I will need to remove it to add the epoxy to my backing layer. So I'm just going to do a quick markup and basically aim to have a little bit of an area that I have to work to. And I know my line won't be super defined, but it will be where I can see it, so we can actually basically fill it up and keep it in the right section. So when we do mount it, we're going to be within our mat of our frame. So when we pull these apart, you can see my rough guideline there, and that's where we aim to actually mount everything. So I'm going to transition my composition onto my backing board of my frame, and then we are going to use some of our Resi clear that we mixed up previously to pour over it and have it secure these pieces, and then we'll be letting it sit, cure, and popping it into the outside of the frame for our finished piece. Okay, time for a change of gloves. I just quickly wiped down a couple of bits of the glass so they weren't so dusty from breaking it up just with our isopropyl, and I'm happy with this composition now. I've kept sort of within my frame, so it's actually time for me now to basically cover it with resin and let it sit and cure. So I'm just going to pop my nitrile gloves on, and with our pre-mixed batch of resin. And if you want to see how we measured and mixed, please refer to our mixing video that we've got, link below. And we'll get pouring. And my aim is to get a nice little layer over everything, but also to make sure I've got a nice couple of mils thickness of my resin underneath. So that way any bit of glass touching the resin itself is going to be secured in position. And with things like my champagne cork, I do expect to have sort of some bubbles sort of seep out of it. So it is something that I want to manage, give a nice mist with my isopropyl, and if I see those coming up, just to pop them as this resin is thickening up. Okay, so we've got a pretty good coverage over everything. I'm just going to get to with my gloves now and just move it around on the outside a little bit and just make sure I've got like some pieces like this label here. I do want to make sure it secures properly to my glass. So I'm just going to quickly coat my glass first because not enough seeped under it. And just coat the lip of the broken bit of glass to take off some of that sharpness. And then stick my label back on. So that way we know it's going to be secured properly. I can feel that this one's pretty secure down, so I'm not too concerned about that one. Same with this one. We've got a nice lot of coverage, but I do want to make sure where it's sitting that it's got a nice bit of contact with the bottom sections that it's sitting on. Perfect. There is a chance that things might move around, being that it's on a fluid layer like this lighter bits here. So I do want to make sure that they're in position. I want to be able to see the word champagne on my cork. Then I am literally going to spread it out to the edges of my backing board here, just so we have a bit more even coverage when it goes into the actual frame itself. Even though we won't be seeing this bit, it'll sit in there more evenly if it's got the same thickness of surface. And then this will all self-level out. Obviously we've got a little bit more weight to the center, but I'm not overly concerned about that because I do aim, like I said before when we marked out our layer here, I do aim to sort of keep it in this rectangle here, and that'll be what's displayed in the actual frame for the end result. So we'll give it a nice mist with our isopropyl. I can't wait to see this one finish. So now with the fact that we're using Resi Clear, it means our cure time is 24 hours. So I'm actually going to, like I said, monitor it in the next hour with my isopropyl if any other bubbles seem to pop up, especially maybe around the cork. And then I'm going to let it cure for 24 hours. After that, it's actually ready to pop in our frame and hang on the wall. So I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of celebratory content. It's definitely a way that you can memorialise something special and a memory in time. But if you do have any questions about this, please make sure you leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.